I just checked it.
So,
There's no
I mean, really, we're just gonna open the budget hearing and there's no public input, so then we're just gonna close it again.
That's fine.
And then next council meeting, I'll have all the resolutions so that you can approve it and we'll be done.
Now, did you get the email from Mike Lee about Henrietta Lundberg's property and his response to that?
Like today?
No, it was a couple days ago.
No.
He said that while she's looking for a response as soon as we can make one, she does understand that government moves slowly, and that she is willing to do an owner hold lease, so that we wouldn't have to go and get a loan, or she would hold the lease, and she would be willing to give us a favorable interest rate.
Oh,
They sent it to the webmaster address.
oh,
So
okay.
at least with an option to buy?
Yeah,
I don't know if you know this, but I'm sorry, this be what?
the triangle lot.
They're asking for
130, and they would be willing to do an
Well,
owner
no,
hold
they're
lease.
doing a lot adjustment if we were the buyers. If they sold it to someone else, they would just sell it and they wouldn't adjust the lot.
Last time we were talking a year ago, that was about $15,000, now we're on $130,000.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Well, we can always offer.
Nice try, though. Yeah, you can,
Well,
take the swing.
Parking lots is one option. There's not much we
I
can
did
do
the
with
breakdown.
that. It'd have to be from
If you
us.
want to forward that to me, I'll send it out to everybody.
Yeah,
so
I'm
everybody
sorry,
can-
I
Yeah.
thought maybe he had sent it to you
No,
and the
no, I didn't see that at
webmaster,
all.
so, yeah. it's-
Okay.
And Jessica, when we get to the volunteer resolutions, you can just point out what changed. for everybody else.
Sure, okay.
Not given our other problems.
If you put that in the email.
I did put it in the email. It's okay, I'll say it again for the record.
And it gets worse after it's on.
Oh, I should probably print out another one of those for you to sign too.
I have voices every day.
Or we can use,
Just say,
I'd rather not use one that already has holes punched in it.
the what?
That has holes punched in it. I'd rather just make it.
All right.
Sorry, I'm OCD like that.
Cafe.
All right, a couple more minutes and then we'll get rocking.
Are we live on YouTube yet?
Yes.
Yeah, it's,
South exit.
Oh.
Very last one is at the hotel.
okay.
There's a cafe in there.
You did remember to push the audio
And then
record,
I
yes?
seen, we're sitting there eating.
Okay, so we're live.
All right.
Actually,
Give everybody a minute to log in and then we'll get rocking.
continue.
And, all these people wearing Black Lives Matter. So I'm putting my head down, comes up to me, stands right at me. And he looks up and goes, well, I happen to be wearing my t-shirt that says, work harder, nobody cares. I just lean back and go,
As if that is an excuse to be a band. Like you're gonna persuade people by doing things. It's a chance to get a widescreen TV.
and anything else.
Is there any way to see who's logged in to the meeting?
I can tell you that we have, let's see, 6 viewers at the moment. 7.
That should be able to tell how many people are.
Okay, I only had 3 texts, so maybe we're good to go. Let's roll.
Okay.
Okay, welcome to the Gold Hill City Council meeting for June 1st at 6 o'clock. And Jessica, roll please.
Mayor Newport.
Here.
Oh yeah, this is weird. Technically, Counselor Cannon. Counselor Hinckley.
Here,
Counselor Lowe. Counselor Palmer.
Here.
Counselor Studebaker.
Here.
Counselor Wilson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, any agenda adjustments? All right, moving on to 3, public input. Any public input online at all?
Nope.
Okay, and we're sure no public input.
no, nothing new has come through.
Okay, then we'll move on to the public hearing for the budget. And so let me just read it. Notice was given for the City of Gold Hill budget, and tonight is the official Gold Hill budget hearing for citizens to weigh in and ask questions and debate the hearing. So we will go ahead and open the budget hearing.
I would like to, I'm not sure if this is the point where I make the formal request. It was suggested to me that we request that the budget committee meet again in December, which would be middle of fiscal year, to review that we're still on budget for the rest of the fiscal year, and that would give us an opportunity to make any adjustments that are necessary in the second half of the year. So to just standardize, just in December, budget committee gets called again.
That's a great idea.
That's a great idea.
Actually, to add to that, that's part of your evaluation too.
No pressure.
Just saying.
All right, any other comments on the budget hearing? Anything from your constituents?
Sorry, I'm actually just thinking about it right now. Since there is an election in November, perhaps we make that second budget meeting in January so that the mayor and any new counselors can be a part of that second budget committee meeting and read in on the budget at that time. So maybe we make that after January 1st when they would be sworn in.
That makes sense too. Good catch.
I like it. All right, any other comments, questions? Councilor Studebaker?
I did have someone approach me, and I took a look at the budget to see how we're doing. And maybe you can help me out here, Jessica, manager. Our net working capital is basically our bank account, right? That's what we have cash in the bank.
Yes.
Okay. So a concern is that year to year, going into this fiscal, we're down 29% on our working capital.
Well,
And next fiscal, down another 13.5%. So that's 40+% in 2 years.
to be honest, a lot of that has to do with the fact that no one was keeping the books, so the numbers weren't moving.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the
And we
explanation I
weren't-
want to hear.
Yeah.
We also weren't paying bills, we didn't get a share.
Right.
Yeah.
We've been making up for that this year, yeah. We got a whole year of service for free.
So, but I think his point was, especially given that we're probably heading into a recession.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I've heard at least one business, she cuts hair, that is not going to be able to recover from this shutdown. So I think it's reasonable to assume county-wise, city-wise, everybody's net income is down. So we're going to be in some sort of recession. The last thing you want is less money in the bank. So a rainy day fund, we've got these numbers, we worked hard on getting this budget. Thank you, Peter, for driving the process. But I think it's really, really important, and maybe now our window is to think about how we can generate some revenue.
And just later in the meeting, when I do the key indicators and tell you where the cash is now, I'm going to report again tonight, as I have for the last 3 months in a row, that our cash is increasing.
That's what we need to have. We cannot go into a recession with having less money. That's like a absolute recipe for disaster.
All right, any other comments? All right, we're going to go ahead and close the budget hearing. And we're going to switch to 5.1, swearing in of new council members. And we're knocking an item off of our to-do list. So, let's go alphabetical. Malia, you want to come up here? And you get a copy to read off of here.
All right, 1 second. You guys gotta hold it, please. Yeah. I want it for the website. Okay, go ahead.
All right, should we do it in view of that?
You are in view of it, yeah.
Okay.
Which way do you want me to look?
Let's get her done. Okay. The oath of office for Malia Beachide. I, Malia Beachide,
I, Malia Beachide,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Oregon,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Oregon,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Gold Hill,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Gold Hill,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the position of City Councilor
the duties of the position of City Councilor
for the City of Gold Hill, to which I have been appointed.
for the City of Gold Hill, to which I have been appointed.
Been elected. That's great. All right. Congratulations. So
Sure.
you need to sign both of those copies.
Both of those.
Scribble.
All right. You can keep a copy, and the city will keep
Okay.
a copy.
All right, well, I'll just-
All right.
All right.
Welcome.
Sterilize my hands.
All right. The oath of office for Bill Rigney. All right. Are you ready?
Yes, I
All
am.
right. I, Bill Rigney,
I, Bill Rigney,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Oregon,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Oregon,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Gold Hill,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Gold Hill,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the position of City Councilor for the City of Gold Hill,
for the position of City Councilor for the City of Gold Hill,
to which I have been appointed
to which I have been appointed
and elected. All right. So go ahead and sign both copies. Yeah, thanks for stepping up.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Another lefty.
Sorry, I know, that's,
Don't apologize for that.
I know, huh, Jess?
Lefties unite.
Well, I tell the people, the right-handed, this is mine, I assume.
Yep, that's yours.
I tell the right-handed people, we live in your world. It's a very difficult place to try left-handed scissors. For those of you who are there, left-handed automatic weapon. I went to boot camp, and they handed me an M16 that rattled as soon as the kid took it off the rack, and I went, no, okay. You know, move. So I'm up. And the first time I fired that weapon, I had my head on backwards, and you're in this kind of a crouch position, and that thing went off, and it sent this, the first casing went right back and right down my shirt. It was like somebody stuck a soldering iron down
Wow.
there. I handed it right back to that cop.
You survived. You're here. You're here to lead the city. All right. Moving on to section 6, staff reports, key indicators with our city recorder.
Yeah, so this is going to be really short because for once I have nothing to say about audits.
Audits are done. Well, well, the prep, you do have the idea of getting the next one done early.
Right, yes, and we are on track for that. So we have 120 business licenses now, which is one more than last month.
Nice.
And I don't have a utility bill number because we are still in the middle of running the bills right now, so I don't know the grand total of that one. I do know that we had an SDC fee paid, so it should be up one, but I can't confirm that for sure until we run the numbers. Cash, we're sitting at $469K, which is an increase of $6K from last month. That's all I have to report.
All right. And it's interesting watching our city grow. I finished my capstone paper last night, and I realized there's 7 million new people on the planet every month.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? So one new business license is a victory for Gold.
Question, Jessica,
Yes,
who is the new business?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I didn't write down the name.
Is it, do you know what kind of business it is?
Next
I
meeting.
kind of feel like it might have been someone who was just coming to do a one-time job for something.
All right.
Yeah,
Hey, let's start coming to get a business license.
yep.
Yeah.
So you said 120,
Yes.
so there's 120 separate business licenses issued.
Yes.
to-
So anyone, if they're
just
not
come for a
based in
day,
here, if they
okay.
just come for a job, yeah.
All right, move on to section 8,
Resolutions.
resolution 20-R-3, volunteer resolution was
Right.
revised. And for the record, do you mind sharing
Yes.
everybody what the revisions were?
Yes, so, like I said, I just had the annual insurance review, and they asked, on number 4, this one was totally my fault. We checked applicable, but then I forgot to check the boxes for what it was applicable for, so those boxes are now checked, Parks and Rec and other. They even had the notes next to them, but the boxes weren't checked. And then on public events, it's now non-applicable. Our public events were all canceled, so I took them off the list. It did say Gold Dust Day and community-wide cleanup, so they're not on there anymore.
We do have the bike event coming through September 26th.
But that's not our event,
Right.
so.
So this is just for 1 year? Is that?
Right, we do this
Okay, you do
annually.
it every, okay.
Yeah, we approved this in January, but I just reviewed it with the insurance company, and they asked for some changes.
Question, plain English?
Yes.
So does this mean that, so these are the categories of volunteers, and if it's not applicable, they are not covered by workers' comp?
Right.
So do you need a motion to accept?
Yes, a motion to approve the revised resolution, volunteer resolution.
I will motion to approve the revised resolution 20-R-3 volunteer resolution.
Oh, it's 2.
Two.
20, oh, it's
It
typed
says
wrong on
3
the.
on mine.
It's wrong on the agenda, sorry.
Okay,
It-
20-R-2.
Sorry,
All right,
I'm
we
full of
have a
typos today.
We have a second?
I got a second.
All right, Ron seconded. All right, any other discussion? All right, roll call, please, Jessica.
Counselor Wilson,
Yes.
Counselor Studebaker,
Yes.
Counselor Palmer,
Yes.
Counselor Beachside,
Yes.
Counselor Hinckley,
Yes.
Counselor Rigney.
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
All right, moving on to consent agenda. This one is exciting because we are now current after doing the deep dive on the audit. So we are now on track, so where every meeting has the meetings from the previous, the minutes from the previous meeting, so we can refresh and double check old business and all that kind of thing, keep our momentum going. So we need a motion and second, unless we have,
I would like to make a request that after the mayor signs the minutes, can you guys then
Email
email
them
me
to
the
you.
signed copy for the website?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll make a motion that we approve the city council meeting minutes for May 18th, 2020.
Yes. Second, or is there discussion first?
Now you second
Go ahead.
it.
seconded by Malia. And any questions, comments, corrections? All right, roll call, please.
Counselor Rigney,
No. Yes.
Counselor Hinckley.
Actually, he would,
Yeah, I think
abstain. You would abstain.
Oh, yeah,
because
right, because you weren't
at
here,
that
that's
meeting,
right,
so
sorry.
You can't say that it's true because you weren't there to witness it, so you would just abstain.
Unless you
from
were,
the
will
vote.
abstain.
unless you were here.
He wasn't here.
He wasn't here.
All
Well,
right,
no, not technically.
okay.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to call
Good
him.
point, Jen.
All right, Counselor Hinckley,
Yes.
Counselor Palmer,
Yes.
Counselor Studebaker,
Yes.
Counselor Wilson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Old business, goal setting, we are making some pretty good progress on goals. Audits are done, and then we have that second or the fourth part of the audit to get to be one of the first in the state, or maybe the first in the state, to get it done first instead of last. So that's pretty exciting. So tomorrow, I'm gonna come up and wipe that board down and put these remaining goals from the 18 up, and we're getting, the list is shrinking, so, and then maybe at the next meeting, we can just prioritize them all together. That sounds good? And so let me just run through them really fast. One, hire city manager's done, audit's done, we want to submit first, that one's partially done. May election to possession, done tonight. Charter revision, we're moving to next year. So 4 is no longer a goal for this year. Financing, one-stop meeting, did we already do a summary for everybody on the one-stop?
I mean, I sent out the summary.
But for the record, we haven't said anything to citizens, so.
No.
So, just so everybody knows, Jessica and I were part of the one-stop meeting. It was incredible. The state, the USDA, there were, what, maybe 20 people on this call?
At least.
20 different financing entities from Oregon were all networked into this call. And everybody went through, introduced themselves, everybody presented, well, I think we ended up presenting 3 major ideas, and several other agencies were standing by to see how their programs could fit into it. So it was really, really encouraging. And then, I don't know if you wanted to cover your part of that later in manager comments, the update on the follow-up for the USDA.
Oh, sure.
So maybe you can put that on the record later, but it is amazing. Everybody out there is rooting for Gold Hill. They know what's going on. They know that the positive energy is building in the community and they want to be a part of it. And it was just so gratifying to see everybody chip in and make an effort to be at the meeting to begin with, and to offer suggestions of how do we maximize our funding. And it was really neat. They had a spreadsheet on screen, and they plugged in and shared the theory of their financing. And then, so we got to see like the state Biz Oregon programs, we got to see USDA's programs, and a few others, and they compared them all on a spreadsheet in the meeting. And then they came back and said, okay, what about a hybrid? Because each financing program has a grant component, and the USDA was the most generous grant component because of our situation, because of our number of hookups and our average income. So we qualify for their best grant programs, which is nearly half. I think, what was it, 45% grants?
45%.
And we have to jump through some hoops to achieve 45% grants on these $10 to $20 million projects, but they're worth jumping through. So Jessica can share that later. And then, if you look at the grant component of State of Oregon and other programs, we might be able to do a hybrid to maximize all the grants from each program. Because the grants are limited either by dollar or by percentage. And so when we overlay all these together, and let's say $1 million of that comes from the state, $7 million comes from the USDA, and all that, and it ends up bumping our grant component closer to 50%. And so it's a lot more work for our city manager to put all that together. But we'll be working with most likely RB-COG to help facilitate all those grants and the financing. But it was a huge, huge relief. And so just so you know how that all is just beginning to play out.
So the net, Mr. Mayor, is it correct to assume that from the hybrid of all of them together, and maybe it's best case scenario, but it would be a 30% increase over the last years? Is that what I saw?
30% of what?
The per user average cost.
I didn't see it that way.
What did you see of that? What percent increase?
Well, it depends on which projects that we go with, because there are some projects that are more expensive to finance, but less expensive to operate. Like the pipeline idea would be more expensive to put it in the ground, but less expensive to operate. And so what was your take on that? Was
Yeah, absolutely. So the pipeline was the most expensive of the 3 items that we discussed. However, when it came to the per user cost spread across our user rates, it ended up being the lowest addition to the user rates. So yeah, that's just how it worked out.
And I don't recall it being 30%. Do you remember the theoretical, because we don't know hard costs yet, but it seemed like it was less than 30%.
What is 30%? What are you talking about?
What we would end up having to do with the rates for Gold Hill citizens. It seems like it was closer to 10%.
So right now for sewer, citizens pay $60, and the options that were given to us varied between a new rate of, I think the cheapest one was like $80, like $79. So an additional $20. But then some of the other ones were more like $40 more. So
So
It
we
varied.
need, we need an executive summary for dummies.
Yeah, so, yeah, and the files that I emailed you, they sum them all up, the same dollar amount in every single square.
To give us some synopsis, and I know those
Yeah.
aren't hard numbers, but what I read from that, and apparently I'm not correct, was a 30% increase. So if that's not the case, then I need it simpler.
Okay, I'll put them all together in one spreadsheet so you can see them all.
And with
Yeah.
verbiage, I saw the spreadsheet.
Yeah,
So
And
I,
Brad, we did ask them, is there time in this whole process to consider that fourth option? And so they're all aware of it, and the engineers are aware of it, that we need to
Yeah.
build out and sharpen the pencil on that fourth option of putting in the fields. And so,
right, and I talked to the.
yeah, the oxidation dishes,
So, and I also talked to the DEQ about what we need to do to extend the MAO so that we have time to do all of this. And what it comes down to is the deadline we're up against right now is that the first thing we had to do was, we're in compliance, but we had to get our wastewater plan approved, and the next step is to get the pre-design phase done. And because we haven't made a decision, they are unable to do the pre-design thing. And so the deadline is by December, we have to have the pre-design submitted. But I've already talked to them, and I know how to word it. They're gonna give us the time.
yeah.
I shouldn't say that on the
So-
record, it's not official yet, but
But I
they're
wanna make
probably
sure-
going to allow us, between COVID and us not being able to meet, and the fact that we need to do a deep dive on everything.
and the fact that we're maxing out a credit card for 25 to 30 years, kind of an important deal.
Yes,
It's a one-off event, we've never shut down the country for 2 or 3 months.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
give us a
they
break.
totally understand that.
We're gonna end up paying one way or another, aren't we?
Because it takes
But
engineers
just so
normally
you
9
know-
months to do pre-design, and we're well within that 9-month limit now, we have to get the extension.
But Brad, just so you know, we did fight for that fourth option.
Good.
And so now we need to know, are we gonna fight for any more options? Are we happy with the 4 so that the engineers can do the work and get it done? Because until we give them the go-ahead, nothing's gonna happen.
So 2 things. Number 1, Jessica has contacted the Oregon Association of Water
Utilities, yep.
which is a regulatory agency that specializes in evaluating these sorts of things. Speaking with a real ally of ours who's got a lot of expertise in wastewater, he says, you know, that's a very good outfit to look over the shoulder on the operation aspect. On the build out, you probably want someone who does it, which again, the outfit that put together that work had never done one. So, 0 credibility.
They're actually building a plant right now.
Great, that doesn't count, they haven't done it yet. So, we don't wanna be their learning test, and that's where we need an engineering outfit that does this sort of work to take a look at the numbers, and they should be able to give us a much more realistic or incisive assessment of those numbers. Again, when we have numbers that range from $80 to $300 million, that's a guess. 400 or 300% variance, that's not a real, you know, they spent 15 minutes at our plant assessing things. So I don't want to belabor the point, but we still need to do
I'm sure
real
though, our
work on
engineers,
this.
it's a hypothesis is what it is. And so they're not just gonna pull a number out, they're gonna take the best analytical guess after compiling all the information. But what I want to see is a total breakdown. If we go oxidation ditches, now we're looking at man hours, getting rid of this waste. I wanna see, and if we can, we talked about selling it, I don't know, I wanna see a total analysis of this oxidation ditch and what it's gonna cost us.
Yeah, and Brad put together that tally sheet with Peter at RV Cog. So they already have a tool ready to start filling in. So would that suffice as an overview?
Well, again,
Use that
I
sheet.
don't believe the numbers we were given for a second. When they give us a variance of 300%, that's an absolute guess. So we need a real engineering company to look over our shoulder and give us a weigh in on the process. I feel comfortable that the Oregon State Regulatory Agency has got a high level of confidence on the operations side. That makes a lot of sense. See what they think. They deal with this stuff all the time.
And so, let me just gauge everybody, because I think at the beginning of last year, did we actually vote on changing engineering companies? Or was that a
Yes.
consensus? I think we voted on it and then we didn't do anything about it, so
I think it was.
rather than persistently being angry with our engineers, should we take a good look at that and get some other bids?
It's not that I'm angry, I just don't trust what they had to say.
They've cost us so much money.
And again, for one of the engineering outfits, they said $130,000 for an estimate. We have those plans on the shelf.
You know, just to be fair to them, they went over their budget preparing for this and they stopped charging us at the amount they said they would stop charging us at, and they ate all the rest of it. Just so you know.
I am not trying to be negative on this outfit, just the way that it's been, that it's proceeded. You don't buy a car from an outfit that's never built a car. It's just a basic way that we go about life. You buy a Toyota after they've done, 2 million cars. You don't buy the Kia the first year that they come out with a model. That's just common sense. And so the way that that was done, the fact that they had never done,
Well, I just don't understand why we're talking about this now after you've already approved the wastewater master plan. You should have never let them create it if you didn't like them.
that was my point with the mayor. And I was led to believe that this doesn't mean anything. We're ticking off a box. We are not obligated to any of these options.
Well, even if we get someone else to create a whole new master plan, it's gonna look exactly like this one. It's
Maybe.
gonna have the same options in it, the numbers in them, they're all estimates, because you won't know until you actually do the
But
job.
when it comes down to actually doing the job, are they gonna know what they're doing more than Civil West is? I mean, that's where
So
I
why
kind of agree with them.
Why don't we just go through one at a time and kind of share our, let's make peace with it, or let's start a bid process for an engineer of record. So Daniela?
So one of the issues that I've had with both master plans, the water master plan and the wastewater master plan, that was actually addressed to me by a couple constituents, was whether or not it's been peer reviewed. It's standard operating procedure for your master plans to be peer reviewed. So the question is, have we had another engineering company look over Civil West numbers and give their opinion on it, which may solve a bunch of these issues if we have a secondary engineering firm look over their numbers and say, these numbers, though they're estimates, are within the ballpark of reality, and they would be able to give us better information rather than saying, I do or do not believe these numbers. As we are not engineers, we are not experts, we would have a secondary engineering firm look over their numbers and say, these are realistic or not realistic.
You know, I think you're right, that's probably a place to start before we throw the whole thing out and start all over again. Okay?
All right, Bill? Any comments on the topic?
Not that I know too much about it. I understand, well, from my little, the orientation booklet I got, the League of Cities would probably be a good place for me to start doing research on. But it seems to me that a system like that, they're commonplace. You know, it's an R&R system. You can find a city this size that's on a river that, has the exact same requirements. What do they do? How do they do it? Who'd you use? I built airplanes all my life. It was kind of a cut and dry, this is how much it costs. And the peer review is the equivalent of an inspection of the inspection. The A&Ps are followed up by inspection authorization people. I like the peer review idea, but I would think it's basically an off-the-shelf system. How big a system do we need to take care of it? Well, how far in the future are we looking to make this thing last? How far out
40
can we go
years.
with this system? Yeah, how long?
40 years.
It'd be worth it.
And Ron, why don't you share any thoughts you haven't shared yet?
We all had a bad taste. Those of us that have been around of Civil West, we've seen what they were doing, and then when they came in, the DEQ just tore them, just handed them 9 pages of flaws that they found on their water master plan, and now they want to turn around and build this. However, saying that, they have gone up and above trying to rectify what they did. They got slapped in the face. It's all about numbers for us. Now, having a second inspection, that's gonna cost money. Another engineering firm's gonna have to come in. So we need to look at the numbers. That's all I care about. And if we all agree on Civil West, then so be it, but I would like to have someone back their numbers. But I also wanna know how much is it gonna cost to back them, and then I want them to put in the contract that they'll take that off. And then, you know what I'm saying? And then maybe we'll use them more in the future. Because they've earned that title with Gold Hill. We cannot trust you until we can trust you. Does that make sense? Because that's a lot of money. We were spending $300,000 a year on these people.
Right, but part of my suggestion with the peer review is rather than throwing the baby out with the bathwater, having it reviewed and not spending
I agree with you.
$300,000 again.
But that's my point. That's my point
Yeah.
is have another engineering company come in and
Right.
inspect their work. But then then Civil West, if we go with them, makes that back up to
Right.
us somehow.
All right, thank you. Elena?
Just listening.
All right, Janet, anything you haven't shared on that?
No.
My perspective is, we did reach out to a couple engineering firms, seems like you had reached out to one, I had reached out to one, and they said they'd be willing to look at whatever plans, and they'd be willing to give us a bid for being engineers of record. And so, maybe we could get a bid for engineer of record from 2 or 3 companies and get a free review. Would that fly at all? Or
I
do
don't
we
know,
need- or do we-
I mean, that
is it
just
better to
sounds
pay-
like the opposite, like you're not gonna give Civil West a chance at all. Like, if you're not, you're not, but
I think also.
I think you should start with the peer review, and then if you don't like what they have to say, then go look for a new engineer.
And I think looking at it from an ethical point of view, requesting to see, oh, well, if you give us a secondary review of Civil West, they have a personal set interest in that secondary review and a monetary incentive to show
Right.
us numbers that we want to see as opposed to what's realistic.
And I just want to reiterate what
Maybe
Manny said when he was
triangulate it
here
with
about
two.
that DEQ review that they got slapped in the face so hard. The city had hired another company to do this, and they fired them because they weren't doing a good job, and Civil West picked it up and went straight into that presentation of DEQ using the data that the old company had given them. So a lot of that wasn't on them, but they took it anyway, and they have been eating it ever since. So I'm not saying you right or wrong, I'm just saying that's what actually happened.
Maybe I was unclear. What I was asking for was just that, a peer review of their numbers to see if this makes sense from a building point of view. Again, the Oregon Association of Water Utilities can do it from our operations, but if they don't build it, what do they know? It's a whole separate aspect of the build of this whole process, which includes operations as well as get it started.
It sounds like you have a consensus. If you'd like to direct me to find another engineering firm to do a peer review, I will do that. It makes
Justin,
sense.
could you please find another engineering firm
And do it through?
Yes, I absolutely will do that.
All right, so does that, because it would be good to end whatever the frustration is we have with them, because it's not good for them and it's not good for us, and so let's bring it to a close. All right, so peer review, and based on the results of that, we'll
Are they?
either proceed with confidence or we will change with confidence. Okay.
One more. Are they aware of there's some kind of a?
Yes, they are aware.
animosity relationship?
They are aware. They
Yeah.
are doing
Brad lets
whatever
them
they
know
can
every
to
time
fix
they
it.
come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, so that is a major one, so that'll all float out of the financing for the sewer and water. Then community cleanup got moved, parks cleanup, Shannon and Tony have been chipping away at all sorts of projects. They got the fire hydrant for watering the park done today, or they got it plumbed today.
Yeah, well, they've
And it
been
gets
watering the park
concrete.
with the water cannon, but they got the fire hydrant reinstalled today.
That is great. So it gets cemented in tomorrow, and they've been chipping away at widening the trails. Anybody else know details? But it seems like they have been working really well as a team, and
They have, they've actually been working around City Hall too, because a lot of the stuff around this building hasn't, we just got this tree trimmed, and it turns out this tree is withering away and dying, so they fixed the irrigation here.
Nice.
Yeah.
I would like to clarify, is Shannon Tony's part-time person for the summer? Is that the position he's filling right now?
Well,
or-
so I allocated a portion of Shannon's salary to Parks.
Okay.
And right now, since Shannon just got released from City Hall, they're running around getting all the two-man jobs that Tony couldn't do because he was
Okay.
just one man. So that's what they're hitting first, everything that takes two men to do.
Right. I just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify where that position
Yeah.
was.
But it
Okay.
seems like the biggest shift in the budget was we went from 3 people in the office to 2 people and then 3 people
Right.
in public works, right?
Well, two and a quarter.
But it shows 3 full-time FTEs in that.
Does it?
Yeah.
Well, I decided to round it, or maybe it rounded it for me when I typed it in.
So it
Yeah, there
says-
are 3 guys, but they're not 3
It
full-time.
says general funds, 2 full-time employees, public works is 3 full-time employees. So we've shifted resources to the bottleneck. So it seems to make sense to me,
Oh, because it's, yeah, Public Works is yeah.
and that's where that little
Yeah.
salary and
probably
benefit
rounded.
summary helps
Yeah.
everybody know what's going on, what's year round.
That's just, I
Whether
wanted
it's
to
a $10,000 or $20,000
clarify.
commitment or a $60,000 commitment, so. I don't know if we can clarify anything in the budget, or we feel like it's communicated to the citizens well enough.
I mean, I feel like it has been. I've publicly noticed it. It's on the website. People have reviewed it. I've gotten feedback.
It's in public notices and it's on a
Yeah.
banner that's going across the
Yeah.
front page.
All right. Okay, then, so parks are coming along. Fire mitigation, I think we've done everything we can. We're getting ready to do our final mows and.
And there's,
The bin.
the bin is coming back.
Yes, you'll see in the newsletter going out with the water bills this month, the fire chief himself wrote a personal thank you to put in the newsletter. We got a whole bunch of stuff out, and they're gonna bring it back at the end of June.
That's great. Any word about fishing platform permits?
No.
I haven't heard anything either. Any updates from Steve at all? Have you heard anything? Okay.
Question?
Yep.
Can we invite the front person for the fishing platform to come and give us a update on
Might be
their
good
status?
for June 15th, because
Yeah. If you'd like, I'm sure they're just gonna come and say that they're waiting on me, but I'm supposed to be the one doing all the permitting, and you know, I've got all that extra time to do that, so, yeah.
Well, I mean, if there's no update to give, if
Yeah.
that's in fact, then I don't.
I mean, I'll
see
call Lorraine, and
that.
if they have anything they wanna come say to you, I'll get them on the agenda.
that'd be good. Just, it would be silly to just abandon it after we had some.
Yeah, I'm not
reason.
abandoning it, really. I'm not.
But next meeting, then we can prioritize all this stuff. And then we'll come up with our top 5 or 6 for the rest of the year and go get them. 26 acre development. Have we heard anything from Mark Hadema?
Nothing.
Okay. New software hardware, you already.
Oh,
for the record?
we got the Vision Court module installed. Yes,
All right.
so we are closer. I'm working with the judge, and I expect to have court in June.
Yeah,
So,
wow.
yep.
And are there any other components we're waiting for to go live on the new?
Payroll and financials could happen as soon as this week. And then the next one after that is utility billing, and we're done. So we are right on track to make the June
Wow.
30th cutoff.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, I have a call tomorrow. We're getting the new credit card software installed, and yeah,
That is
we're rolling
great.
right along. We're picking up steam,
Awesome.
finally.
Did
That would be
we,
incredible to get 12 and 13 done this month.
Yeah, well, we have to get it done by June 30th because I'm not paying Springwood to renew another year.
Daniela?
did we ever vote on whether or not we were going to go to the postcards? Did they ever give us the design for the
what?
bills?
Oh, no, we're not gonna go to the postcards. We went back the other way.
All right, water meter valves, we said we were gonna revisit that
Yes.
later. So does that move into next year or later on this year?
Later on this year, we have more break-in every
Okay, so
month
we'll
when we do
prioritize
reads.
next week.
Yeah.
So wasn't there a $3,500 component to the new software that could kind of do an interim?
Yes. I would
What's the
still,
status
I
of
would
that?
still like to spend some money on replacing at least the broken meters. I think we're up to about 50 at this point.
Mhm.
I would like to replace the broken meters, and then we buy this $3,500 piece of equipment that plugs right into the new software. I was telling the meter reader about it this week while he was here, and you just take it right out to the meters. It's not like wireless read or anything like that, but it uploads all the reads from last month straight into it, and when he goes and he punches in the new read, if he punches in a weird number, it tells them right then and there, do a reread right now. Some of them can take pictures, so if you see a meter box full of water or something wrong that you want to document, and then he comes back and he plugs it in. So not only does it save time on the actual meter reads, but we spend so much time inputting manually the meter reads once the papers make it back in the building, and now we can just
I
plug
think
it back
also
in.
that will reduce human error such
Yes.
as
But let me
transcribing
just
wrong.
back up. We were all really excited about the smart meters and it
Yeah.
penciled out and everything, but we weren't in a position to finance it. But
Right, and now I
with-
can fill out that grant application because our audits are caught up. So I'm still looking into that. This would just be like a tide over thing because we have so
And-
many
and I
things in
think,
the air right now.
If I understood USDA, we could tag on a couple projects to the USDA. So imagine if we got a grant for that and then the residual got 45% grant match.
Yeah,
And so
it'd
I
be
think-
practically free.
And we could probably get it done next year as part of the construction financing. So there might be some ways to get it for 70 or 80% grants. So,
And that works, as
Yeah.
opposed to, what was the number, $250,000 or $300,000?
and that
Yeah.
might be our number one tool to better match revenue and expenses. Okay.
Are we agreed that this $3,500 patch is valuable in the interim?
I think.
I mean, we're not, it's a couple of months away if we do. We have time to think about it because we don't even have the utility software installed yet, so.
Yeah, we need to read about it.
Can you
And-
give us a
Yeah.
brief report on it?
Yeah,
next time?
sure.
And if the $3,500 can be covered by grants and get paid 70%.
Yeah.
Jessica, I have one more question. Do you think that they would be willing to come out and do a demonstration for Billy? And Billy could be there to see how it all works?
Oh, yeah.
And he could
I'm
say
sure.
whether and weigh in, since he's actually the one that's going
Good
out
idea.
there?
Yeah?
Good idea. Okay, 15, November election prep, we're gonna hit that later in the agenda, right? Under,
Yes.
okay. And then, sites for hotels, that kind of thing, we'll prioritize that in a couple weeks. Oktoberfest, Harvest Fest, there's brainstorms going along in town to do some sort of a festival along with the, September 26th bike, ride the road. And then Christmas lights, that's pretty much all ready to plug and play. So we're tracking on our goals, and we're gonna achieve 2 or 3 of them in the next couple weeks, so that's really exciting. Okay, so moving to new business. 12.1, reopening application period for committees. We got a lot of the behind-the-scenes done work over the last 6 months. And remember, we put out the notice for committees last fall, and then we were like, hey, hold on, we gotta focus our energy. So how would you
So
like to
I
proceed?
still have
with that?
all of the applications from last time. So those people are already on the short list, but we want to put on the website that we're looking for them again. Now, I did have a question. I mean, are these committees something that we've had? I mean, obviously, we need a planning commission, and I understand the needs for a parks commission, but these other 3, like, were they real things, or is this just something that Harry made up?
What
Because
did you get for third?
Ethics Board, Public Works Advisory Board, and Utility Advisory Board.
Those are hers.
Because we had a hard time getting applicants, and I
less
don't
is
really
more.
see what the point of those were.
Yeah.
I think
So,
less
That's what
is
the
more.
League of Oregon Cities is all about, is for the ethics.
We had a great budget committee, that one worked really well, so maybe let's prioritize them. Can you read them off and let's prioritize them together, and then we'll focus on one, get it up to speed.
yeah, well, I think the number 1 should be the Planning Commission. We need a Planning Commission.
Yes, we do.
And then number 2 is the Parks Commission. Yeah.
I did want to ask about the Bee City Committee. Would you be willing
Oh,
to
Can you make
help
that
me make a
fast?
form for the website so that people can volunteer for reopening?
Yes.
Do we have to have a specific, or can it be part of parks?
I would really like to actually have the Parks person on the Bee Committee.
Yeah, that makes sense.
As well as,
Because it seems like the pesticides are the number 1 issue there,
right.
So,
But also the website, we have to have a web page for it, which I've been working on. And I think I would like to have at least 2 citizens be a part of it, because they are the ones who maintain that going through.
and was Lee Finney?
Still interested.
She lives on Upper River Road though, right? Or
I
is
don't
she
know.
in town? Can we
don't
do
know if
one of
she's-
those positions out of town?
I think if we're gonna do a position out of town, then we should have 2 in town and 1 out of town.
How's that sound?
Yeah,
It's a good idea.
As well as Jessica and I looked up the CIC statute, the Citizen Involvement Committee. It is mandated in our charter, but it's a citizen-led thing.
yeah, it's on them. If they want that committee, that's up to them to create, and it defines in the charter how they do that.
And then they just call us.
And if they
tell us
do
what-
have meetings, then the city's only obligation is to provide someone to take the minutes of the meeting, basically.
Okay. Okay, so there were 7, and we covered parks.
Right.
B,
And then the other 3 were the Ethics Board, the Public Works Advisory Board, and the Utility Advisory Board.
Okay, so which ones do we just not want to deal with right now?
All of them.
All 3 of those?
All 3 of those.
I personally would like to say that I do think that the ethics board is important, especially if we have a number of citizens who like to call out everyone on ethics. If we have a private ethics committee here in town to review that with the citizens before there are ethics violations that are brought to the state, it could save us a lot of time and energy to have that here internally, where our ethics board could go over the complaint, could see it, have a chance to correct that issue in-house before it becomes a state investigation.
Since we have had a few state investigations, that makes a little sense.
That might be a good idea, because a lot of the ethics complaints are false, the information's false,
It
the
is.
stuff they put out there's false.
And if we had a
So if
committee
we had
that
a
said,
committee that
yeah.
could-
And then
Clear that up.
if it
Okay, so
turned
that
out,
gives us 3 or 4
That gives us 3.
plus B?
Well, if you count B, then that's 4.
Okay, so is that right? Everybody good with that?
You know, I disagree in that. Was it public utilities and what was the second one?
Those are
Public
fine.
Works Advisory Board and Utility
So works
Advisory
and
Board.
public, those are the things that impact people maybe more directly than anything else we do. I think those are important.
And I think we had 1 person that liked to be on those boards. That's why, it's just because we can't get people out here. I mean, I'm happy to have all the boards we want, but if we only get a certain number of volunteers, I'd rather pick the big ones. And maybe we can expand later as more people get involved and want to be
We
involved.
do have Mark.
Can we make
And we
that-
have Mark,
can we make
and
that
he
a-
was the
have Mark.
one applicant. I wasn't gonna name him, but it was Mark.
Maybe they could be rolled in as a component of one of the bigger things, because both
Yeah.
of those are part of the master plan.
I
Yeah.
think perhaps
That's
they
a
could
good
be rolled
idea.
It's an
into
important
the,
function.
That's actually a good idea. Could we
Citizens.
combine
The
two of those,
planning.
like the parks? Could that also be parks and utilities, so it's the same 3 people?
I actually might
Or
consider it to
planning,
be the
yeah,
planning
I see.
committee, because
Yeah.
the public works is heavily involved with the planning committee and looking
What do you
at
think of that?
new
Yeah.
housing
So
and
we
things
come
like
up
that.
So that debate, so planning, public works, and
Utility.
utility, that all becomes one
Yeah.
committee, and their agenda just goes up.
And then
Right, so if
ethics
anything
could be
comes
on
up
top of it.
to deal with utility or public works, we refer to the planning committee, because that's their, yeah.
And then we
And
combine,
have that
did you
as a-
say we can combine ethics and parks?
Maybe we can make
That
those-
reflects the town. Okay, so that leaves us with ethics, a parks, and a planning, utilities,
Yeah,
and works.
and B
That's-
City.
What I would advocate is those other 2 become subcommittees. So they are discrete under planning, because they are kind of a separate animal. And I think they're gonna get lost if we just call it planning committee.
Okay,
So change the name of it to include all of those, or to actually make it a sub? Why don't you just change the name of it so it says all of those things?
I think once
That's a really
once
long-
we have the planning commission, we just nominate 2 or 3 of them to carry each of those titles as a subcommittee. Yeah.
All right, so then we're only looking for 12 people, 3 for each, or? How
You know,
many?
I don't know the numbers that were, I know the planning commission might be defined in the charter, how many there are, but I think as far as parks, we could probably, anybody that wanted to be on it. But we could limit it if you want.
So what if we go ahead and define that for the June 15th?
Okay.
meeting? And then we can get out there and should probably get it on the next newsletter
Yeah, we can,
and then make it open,
yeah.
and then maybe some like.
Start, for the start of the
people,
fiscal year, yeah.
Like, July 15th.
Okay.
What do you think of that? Give us 6 weeks to find a couple folks
So expand the period till June 15th?
to July 15th, so it goes out on the June 30th newsletter, utility billing. That way, we're giving everybody structure, we're creating a new way to communicate it.
And I will reach out to everyone who has already submitted an application and make sure they're still interested.
All right, that is progress.
Can people who are serving on city council also be on committees?
We typically have a council liaison to each committee. So if there's a committee that you're interested in, you can ask, hey, I'd like to be the council liaison. And then it would be your job to report back to us what it was that the committee had decided, or if they have a specific concern.
Sounds good. All right, you guys ready to move on to 12.2? So Ready has a grant, they just received a grant, and they have earmarked $8,000 to $10,000 for us, but we have to go through the application process for COVID local business economic development help. And so, wanted to just brainstorm with everybody, see if we had specific things, because they need a defined list and a dollar amount that they can review.
I was talking with Jessica about this earlier this week, and there are a couple locations downtown that I thought potentially City Hall might be able to purchase folding tables and chairs to help the local restaurants to have more additional seating outside that would allow us to allow for social distancing, and maybe they can't accommodate people in their restaurant because they're small, but they could direct them to one of these public eating places that they could pay attention to social distancing, keep clean. I know that there was potentially a deal with Swede for the strip behind there. The Gold Hill Historical Society owns that gravel lot in between the buildings where the pizza truck was. Possibly the library park, where we can add some additional seating for people to eat outside and not necessarily have to cram into a building, because I know some restaurants are
Need,
struggling.
a couple of tents, or
I would
10 by 20 tent, or 20 by 20 tent?
I was thinking maybe actually just not having the tents, but instead the tables and the chairs, because the tents would make it an indoor location and would kind of cram people into the same breathing space.
What's the park in the alley there? Pretty shady.
Yeah, there's shady spots.
Shady is a good thing?
Yeah.
So, this is meant for local businesses?
Well, like some of our restaurants, because they're small, they, normally like Patty's
No,
is.
I'm not talking about what she's talking about, just
Oh.
the grant in general.
Oh.
Is meant, because I've seen Medford and Grants Pass, I think, send out notices for their local businesses to apply for a grant that they were trying to help their local businesses. Is that what this is?
I think we could use it for that. I think, we talked about Stacy Macy earlier, she had to close up shop, so we lost one of our.
That's for individual businesses to do. My brother-in-law owns Dilladat's, Diner 62, and they had to apply for these loans, and the money was allocated, and you have to show that the money went to payroll, but,
Well, no,
pay for all the overhead, and so,
I think those are the government loans, isn't it?
yes.
Well, we
Yeah,
could-
now these are like specific city
So it would be
funded.
allocated to
Well,
the city of Gold
through-
Hill, it would be
Oh.
allocated to the city of Gold Hill, and then we can use it to.
Yeah,
And
and
we
then the
can
businesses in the
well,
city can
We
apply
can buy
for.
masks, we can buy hand sanitizer, we can help support our businesses, because we know our town better than they do. And so, is it reasonable to
That's
earmark half of that for a couple
That's what
businesses?
that's what, when I read this, that's what it sounds
Yeah,
like.
you know,
Local business economic development. It's
maybe
not-
we could take a portion of that money, and if we had local businesses here who had better, they know their businesses better than we do, maybe they could come to us and submit a grant request for, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's say, if they said there's 8,000 to 10,000 earmarked for Gold Hill, why don't we ask for 15,000? And take 5,000 of it and create a grant fund and have people apply and get the word out. 5,000 for for helping out businesses and 5,000 for PPE or something like that? What do you think, Brad?
It seems to me, so who's impacted by the
I'd like
shutdown?
to see what that specifically
Everyone.
meant.
Retail mostly,
It's not-
government wasn't impacted, big companies aren't impacted,
That's
small
not what I'm
companies.
getting from.
So small companies in this town, like Stacy Macy, like the clothing store, like Janet's store, the neighbors along there, they are impacted.
Yeah, the
I
pet
think,
groomers, all the new people, yeah.
I think those are specifically
And
who
Janet's too.
need help right now. Because there's not a damn thing they can do when they said, you stay inside, or, you know, they made all kinds of threats, and it's become a political game show. And if we take a look at the federal program, they said money for employees, and then a portion, 25 to 35 to 40%, whatever they're changing the numbers, for overhead to administer that. And so something along those lines where the companies, I mean, we have one restaurant, we have 2 restaurants. So let's throw them some money so they can, because you know that their waitress staff is not making what they were before. I know the volume of business.
Save the Long Branch.
Well, that's part of what I was talking about with the additional seating, is helping them to reopen. Because you look at
Because they're still
Patty's,
takeout, yeah.
their restaurant inside is very small. You look at Buddy's, they don't have any indoor eating. You look at Figaro's, they have limited space to eat at. They're expanding out into their parking lot. Miguel's as well, the Lucky's. The indoor space, in order to be 6 feet apart, they're not even able to accommodate half of the clientele they once were. By expanding it to outdoor eating areas, they can then direct people to those public places to go take their takeout and eat it there, so
Yeah,
that when
they can
people
have
are
it
coming
out.
to the beach park and things like that, they're still getting that business and not having to send it away because they're full.
So are you okay if we just make a list, and they may recognize some of the list, they may not?
Medford National's doing the same thing, but they're also supplying hand sanitizers and sanitation stations
Mhm.
with porta-johns and
Right.
everything, and they're kept clean.
Uh-huh.
And so, that's another factor you have to look at.
A porta potty's $100 a month.
Right?
We can
I know,
afford, we
but
can
I'm
afford a
talking,
porta
you gotta
potty.
have hand
Yeah.
sanitizer.
Yeah, somebody needs to be
Wash-
cleaning those tables.
Wash your hands and stuff, and you gotta have washed tables.
So why don't we go for 15,000, if they have 8 to 10 earmarked for us, and get a hand sanitizer station downtown, and, would you say porta potty?
Sure. I mean, I don't think it makes a lot of sense to try and reinvent the wheel, what's undoubtedly gonna be a short-term process. I
Are
think
they allowed to use the
2
public
months, this
restrooms
is
in the
gonna go
places where
away.
they're getting the food from?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I don't see
And
why.
I don't wanna put a porta potty in the library park.
So
If
that's
you're
just-
buying
that's
food
just
from a
a-
place, you should be able to go in there and use their bathroom.
That's just a potty for Foley.
Well, that should be, it'd have to be locked up at night.
No, but I think hand sanitizer stations,
Yeah,
I like
I think
that.
that's
Yeah.
a good idea.
It's not a bad idea to put a porta potty above Beach Park,
Mhm.
because there are.
Yeah, there
other
really
people-
should be
other
one there.
people that-
There
There really
should
should
be
be
one.
one there,
People that-
regardless of the
Yeah.
COVID situation, there should be something there. Yeah,
Yeah, the
you know
hand
people.
And a
sanitizer
hand
station.
sanitizer,
Go down
yeah.
there around
In the
July,
bushes.
August.
That would actually be a really nice thing, even if it was only for peak season.
I don't think that has anything to do with this grant, though.
No,
But if we-
Agreed. I
if we have
think
hand
this
sanitizer-
grant is directed at small businesses.
It is.
Who have been the most impacted, which is retail. So let's give them some money for their overhead and for paying their people, so that they survive
Yeah.
and they don't go the way of our hairstyle.
I just think they should fill out a request form and we'll just
Yeah.
give them what they need. I mean, they know what they need.
So.
But money for tables too, because I like that idea
Yeah.
too.
I like it, I think it also encourages a reopening. Like, I get that we're trying to help mitigate the costs that they've had over the last 2 to 3 months, but I think this money could also be used to help them to
I
reopen,
think they're-
to get that going.
Patty's is open.
Right,
Right.
but
It's
they have to
curbside
spread
and
out,
spread out.
they can't fit as, they can't
Did you guys know
accommodate.
that they've also taken over where Stacy Macy was, and they're making that more seating for the restaurant?
Oh, I did not know that they were doing that.
If you
Okay.
go walk by there, and you can see all the tables and stuff.
But we
No,
might as well
speaking
make a
of-
list, and they're
Yeah.
gonna decide what they're gonna do.
Right, speaking of
allocate it.
reopening, the county has
This
applied
makes
to
the city
enter
look
phase
that
2.
much better, too.
We don't know if we'll get it or not.
Goodwill.
But
If we get
I
it,
think
we may
a
hear by
We were very
Friday.
trying
couple of event tents might be wise,
No
Yeah.
tables, chairs.
I think-
When it rains, we just kill the
So
table.
who's
like
gonna
it.
manage the table and the chairs?
It's fire season, it's not.
We have to take it out, down at night and bring it
Well,
up
see,
to
that's
the-
why I was thinking picnic tables, like big, heavy
Yeah.
picnic tables that are.
They have
Bolt
two,
down.
they have two out by Savannah's that haven't been stolen, the picnic tables, because they're too heavy to drag away.
Yeah.
If we could put a couple more, can we put them in Beach Park?
Tables?
Yeah.
I mean, we could put them wherever we want.
That kind of defeats the purpose of having. a-
Yeah,
Wonder-
it's,
what if we
it's
put-
having it close to the
Wouldn't it be
businesses.
great?
Would Savannah let us put a couple more there for other
Savannah
people
doesn't know
besides
who
the
owns
coffee?
the ones that are there, and Savannah doesn't own the strip that's next to the
Oh,
coffee
so
shop.
we
Yeah.
could, we could put a couple more
I think
there.
that's the post office, isn't it?
Well, it's owned by the same lady that's
Oh,
trying to
the
sell us
owns-
the
okay.
triangle.
Okay.
Oh.
It's Henrietta.
So, and like I said, the Gold Hills Historical Society owns that gravel strip, that, where the pizza truck was, and that's a really shady spot.
Mhm.
The library park, I believe we
Is ours.
own. And then I was thinking potentially the Swedes parking, or the Swedes strip in the back, because there was a deal I remember somebody bringing up before, and maybe you'll remember this, Palmer, where Swedes was willing to rent it to us for $1. Because it's not something that they maintain, and if there was something we wanted to do on that strip back
Are you
there.
talking about the one by the railroad track?
Yes,
They've fenced that off and they use it for their boneyard.
No,
No.
she's talking about directly across
from Miguel's.
From Miguel's.
That dirt lot,
Yeah, that's,
Oh, is that the?
that can be developed.
yeah.
Well, what if
If
they
we-
allow it.
Well, I
what
was
if we
thinking, is there a
combine-
table or two out
What if
there?
we combine a couple of ideas, instead of the tents, we do umbrellas with the tables?
My worry about that is that you're gonna have people steal those.
That's what
umbrellas.
my first thought is, so they're
You
stealing.
wanna steal it. You want something that's gonna be permanent.
Hey, we have an opportunity to get some free money, you guys. Why not make it look good?
That's why I'm trying to put the tables in
For
the
5
shady
minutes.
places.
Yeah.
To your local businesses, like
Get a
Rick
picture of
said.
it.
Sorry to be
Instead of trying
cynical.
to spend it on
Okay,
umbrellas.
so we've got, yeah.
Okay, along
We
those
have an opportunity to make a really positive thing here, and if we don't ask for it and don't have a list, and we only think of one thing, let's come up with a list. They can decide what they'll fund. So we have some ideas to help the businesses, some ideas to help with seating, and some ideas to help with PPE, right? What are we missing? Brent?
A very cheap solution, which I like, quick and dirty, quick, cheap, and easy to execute. Let's relax our regulations, if we can, on outdoor seating around any of these eating establishments. Can we do that?
Which was part of where, because I think you got the same constituent calls that I did about opening up the sidewalks for eating. And when I was looking at the sidewalks, they're very narrow, which is why I was thinking of the other areas in downtown, can we offer that public seating?
I'm not gonna go and eat next to the railroad tracks in a dusty parking lot, are you kidding?
But you'd sit in the park in the library under the tree, right?
Not really.
And we do have that shady, we do have that little pagoda or whatever right at the top of Beach Park too. So we do have Beach Park and we have that little triangle right at the
Isn't that
top.
Steve Beasley?
Steve owns half of that. So if you imagine half of that, I could have 10 or 12 tables right there.
That's a
I thought he
scary
owned all of it.
area for families. I can tell you that I had someone who said, I never go down there, that
This
is,
strip?
I will never go back.
Well, that's on us.
Pagoda?
We're
City
making
Beach?
it scary. We have the
We're allowing it
power
to
to
be-
make it
I
good.
don't know.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's on us.
I agree.
If we're trying to be effective, it's not gonna work for many people because they're afraid. That's reality right
And that's
now
on us.
today. It is on us.
So do we want to continue to make Beach Park scary for people or do we want to clean it up and make
Why
it
is it
nice?
scary?
The dirt.
I never knew it was scary.
The people who hang out down there.
I throw a couple of guys off my property, a couple times a week. I'm sitting up on my deck and they come from our city beach property, which is directly adjacent to my property. And that's about as far as they can go because the riverbank is too steep for them to pass any farther through from my property onto my, I guess I would assume city or state land.
Why don't we reclaim it and make it a good park?
Did I not bring up in a meeting when I was a civilian to get about 100 goats down there for a month and they would be cleaned up where you can- nobody
Yeah,
can hide down?
I
you're
love
that flood-
fire
You're
beats.
talking about that floodplain area, the city beach. The city beach, that's all floodplain.
Yeah, it is.
So anything that has to be developed down there, we have to.
You can't put
repair
it permanent down there.
You can't be permanent. And then we have the riparian way that we gotta think about, so.
And I'm talking about above.
We're fighting a lot.
So it's directly across from Fibros, the city owns, 30 or 40 or maybe 50 feet right there that could have a beautiful little seating area. And we could tell the sheriff to keep it clean. I'm sure Tony would be up for it. So then we end up with 3 or 4 little spots with tables that we could encourage to take out and help Patty's, help Buddies, help Figaro's.
I think also when we look at some of
This is the
the
city of Gold Hill right here.
potential development, when we look at that, there's seating. When we look at those visionings, there's seating out there for the public. There's all of those public spaces that have been looked at in the visioning, and if that's what we're ultimately looking at, then looking at our town that is existing, rather than the town and the land we wish we had, we look at what is existing, what does Gold Hill currently have, and make that vision fit our footprint.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And I think this is an opportunity to do that to help businesses.
So tables, PPE, hand sanitizer.
Porta potty?
Porta potties or no potties?
Yeah.
No.
I think we should have a porta potty down there by the city beach. I mean, just as a matter of public health, not even having anything to do with the COVID. There really ought to be a porta potty down there.
Maybe 2 porta potties?
You know, if you could put
I
a
would
porta
have
potty,
a porta down
make a nice little area with a porta potty and a hand washing station and keep it clean, and have some picnic tables and things.
Man, that would be a
Yeah.
win.
And I think the hand washing stations, I think we should look at strategic spots throughout town that could be
Yeah.
used by citizens to not spread COVID.
Mhm.
Yep.
I think one in the park, would be really great, because kids touch things in the park, and if they had the chance to wash their hands before or after, I think parents would be more comfortable. And that's a great place for a little picnic. It's, it's shady and
That
grassy.
playground right here,
Mhm.
needs one.
Yeah.
All the kids that are,
Yeah, so you're talking about, so just summarizing. So tables, chairs, or sturdy picnic benches that have seating and a surface, hand sanitizer, and possibly some grants. That's pretty good. I think we can come up with $15,000 pretty quickly here. And let's go for it. Should we go for more?
My question is, what are the small businesses we're helping? I don't think we're giving relief to the small retail businesses which have been crushed by their decrease.
Well, that's why we're just gonna ask for
Well-
grant money, so
Right.
that they can come to us and we can give them what they need.
So if we ask for 15 grand, we can take 5 grand of that. That might
you have to look at
That
what
might
you're
help
trying to
make a
do
rent
here with
payment or
that.
2.
If I had a business and this city goes out and helps me, and I'm out of town and I wanna bring a business in, I'm more than likely gonna go, if they help other businesses, maybe they'll help me. So it might generate other revenue.
It's kind of walking the talk. We're talking about that, we're business friendly, we want companies to come here.
Yeah, following the vision.
If we can give 1,000 to 10 different companies, that will resonate, and I'll tell you what, I think Brad will pick that one up in his paper. And it may even get into to Medford and the Ashland paper. That would be demonstrating that we are business friendly, and we want to help you. So here's this thing that came, it's a once in a lifetime event. We want to help you get through it. We're throwing $1,000 your way. Spend it how you want. Do we have 1,000?
Way better than a gold medal.
Yeah, I mean, do we have 10 retail businesses? We got 3 restaurants. How many clothing stores?
No.
No.
I guess that was part of Stacy Macy's. Okay.
Well, we
Tattoo's
have-
gone,
Dog groomer.
dog groomer, there's 3 in
She's
your
still there?
space.
Yeah, she,
Well, 4 if you count Jen and Bob, I don't know if you want,
So let's count Jan and Bob.
or 5, because there's buddies too.
Yeah.
Buddy.
And Lucky's got hit hard.
And Lucky's.
Figaro's.
Yeah, all the bars got hit hard. I think that's a really tangible way that we can say, we want you here and we're gonna help you. And, I did go to Jackson County Public Health and got 100
job.
face
Good job,
masks.
Bob.
They've got this stuff available. There's no reason for us to pay for this. I think that, when I read grant for local businesses, economic help, to me, I think that let's get the bang for the buck of $1,000 grant times 10 or 15. If we can get 15, we can spend some more
Let's think
on,
bigger.
on a couple more, picnic tables maybe. I just think, who's gonna manage that? We're gonna have to
Well, if they're
concrete.
really heavy-duty ones that we can chain to a cement
We've got to,
thing,
we've
then
got to do it. So that's
then
more
we're
work
thinking,
for
these are
Tony.
10-year tables that,
Yep.
I mean, what I look at is I do look at the two that are next to Savannah's, and I get the worry about them possibly being stolen. There is a gate on the side Shady Park. The two that are at Savannah's have been there for at least 3 years.
Years.
Nobody has snatched them. And so,
yeah.
and picnic tables are not that expensive, and I'm all for looking at the hand sanitizing stations, the picnic tables, getting a couple of them, and then whatever's left over being put towards grant money.
yeah.
I mean, these things that we're talking about doing are not very expensive at all. When you look at a picnic table maybe costs $500. So you look at maybe 2 picnic tables throughout town to add seating, maybe 1 or 2 hand sanitizing stations, and then the rest goes towards grant money.
The hand sanitizing station's gotta be taken down and put up in the morning. It'll walk, guaranteed. Everything here walks if we don't nail it down. So that's gonna be another task for Tony or someone in City Hall.
Unless we can permanently mount it somewhere.
Especially
Well,
if
it's gonna be another job
And if
station.
we do a couple of,
Something's gonna happen.
like 2 or 3 or 4 tables right by the little pagoda or whatever that is at the top of Beach Park.
The beach park isn't even close to the restaurants. Why do you keep going there?
Yeah.
It's not even
It's
anywhere
not
near
that
where all the
far.
food
It's
is.
from-
It's
just
by
down from
Figaro's, but Figaro's
Lucky's,
has them.
Figaro's, Buddies.
Yeah,
That's
think
all like $3.
What I'm
on the
thinking
street.
about more
But
is
it
the
is a
library.
city park that could get revived.
Well, yeah, and then
the
put
more
another
people
one
that
on the
use it.
other end, put one in the city, in the park by the library.
Yeah,
Put
I'm
a
thinking
couple
more
on
about
the
the
beach.
library part.
A couple on the beach and,
You're trying to take all of this money that is meant for local business economic help and spend it on picnic tables. That's
Well,
what I
no,
hear.
that is
yeah, but
local
we
business
can- but
economic
we can-
help.
We can come up with a little map that everybody can
Mhm.
have and say, hey, these are 5 seating areas or 3 seating areas.
If they were
Yeah.
able to
The
accommodate,
businesses could give that to their customers and say, there's some places you
And
can
they're
go and
beautiful,
sit.
and we can make them, the best part of Gold Hill.
if a restaurant was
Now,
previous
this is
to
only 4 months out of the year,
COVID
though.
able to sit
Yeah,
50
six.
people in their restaurant with 6-foot distancing, and they can only now accommodate 5 people, 45 of their customers are now gone. So for every seat
They're not
that we
tipping.
can give them opens up their business more. Because right now, they're not able to bring that waitress back because they only have 5 people, and before they had 3 waitresses. So every seat that we can give them to get another waitress going.
But you're acting like the waitress is gonna go across down to the beach park and serve them their food. They're
No,
gonna have
but
to
it's
come in for
very-
a to-go order like they do now, and they're gonna take it and they can go sit wherever they wanna sit. But it's not gonna bring back waitresses.
Yeah. it's-
They're the ones who are in there preparing the food. They're the ones that are in there getting it all prepped in boxes and getting it into go.
They would bring
to-go
kitchen
bins.
staff back because they
But
would
I don't,
help them out.
I'm not
too.
sure how
I-
putting a
I don't
picnic
see
table
what the
down by the
harm is.
beach park is gonna
I
get
think we should
packaged
ask,
waitresses to.
we should ask for everything we can get to help our businesses, so
Well, where the money is coming from, Soretti?
yeah, so we've got a block grant and they're trying to spread it around the 11 communities, the 11 cities.
Exactly are there regulations? for
They want a
spending
list.
that
That's what I'd like to
They
know.
want a list and they want our rationale.
Right.
So it's open-ended, we could ask them for,
Yeah,
We have to give them
and
a
the
ready
intent-
But So Ready stands for the Southern Oregon Regional Economic Development, so
Yeah,
I forget what the I is.
because basically we got shut down, so this is
But it's
how
for
can they
economic
help
development.
with their grant, how can they help us reopen?
right, but my concern was that if they had any restrictions whatsoever on what you can use the money for, well, we, the city, would be applying for the money from Soretti, right?
Yeah. And they're gonna allocate it to the best use. So if we can argue that it's the best use, then hopefully we'll get some money. Brad?
What's the deadline?
I think they wanna know tomorrow.
I don't think it's tomorrow, is it?
Well, they have the money, so they're gonna start dispersing it, so.
I can email you all the details if you'd like to read through them
Well-
for yourself, but
Yes.
I don't remember exactly.
Here's my rationale, which I think would resonate with what they have stated the purpose of this is. We have 5 businesses downtown and three restaurants. Let's give each of them $1,000, spend it as you need, as you wish. We will also work on the side to get COVID-19 specific hand sanitizers and masks. But let's do something tangible. We've got a few businesses. Let's throw them some love, and that will resonate for other small businesses that are talking about wanting to come here. I mean, what is a better application of local business economic help?
Sounds good.
We lost one. How many more are we gonna lose? Has the pizza place gone permanently or what?
Yeah, it's gone.
So we lost 2 out of how many?
It was my understanding, and
Yeah.
clarified,
40%.
Jessica.
I don't think we
didn't-
lost the pizza because of COVID.
Yeah, I think
It was, that was a
family dispute.
personal thing.
But
Yeah.
here's a company that started out, and then there's this macroeconomic event which he had no control over, no one else did, and it comes out of nowhere and it kicks him. I just think that this is exactly the sort of monies that we can use for our existing companies, get the word out that we want new companies. We just lost 3 out of 12 or something crazy. We want to replace them.
And I would just like to make the argument that using this to help our businesses with permanent potential infrastructure would make us more appealing in the future rather than just a money giveaway. Just a money giveaway is a finite return on that, whereas using it to expand our seating for eating downtown, improving tourism is a long-term investment towards giving those companies a place they want to be, rather than, oh, we're giving away money right now that we will not have in the future, but utilizing that for permanent infrastructure, for permanent hand washing stations, for picnic tables. Even just a little bit of that money gives us long-term investment as opposed to a finite
Let's say,
investment.
let's go for both.
Yeah, it sounds like there's enough money to
Go
do
for
both.
both.
Yeah, I don't like giveaway. I think they need to earn that, and they need to come and explain to us. We're not the government. I mean, as far as federal handing out that $1,200.
So we can do a grant process.
We can do a
Yeah.
grant process, but.
I would
but
much
still,
prefer that.
You know, I wanna hold them accountable. Just giving them money, especially Gold Hill, you'll have every Tom, Dick, and Harry down here going, hey, well, I'm gonna, here's my $100 I'm gonna fill out business license.
Malia, did you wanna weigh in on that, and then we'll wrap up that topic?
Well, I just wanted to mention something, just kind of came to mind. I remember hearing somewhere in the last year or so, somebody had a proposal to put in like a food truck park.
Uh-huh.
Is that, you know, what if we designated an area and put up picnic tables and encourage people to put up food trucks? You know, and then Gold Hill would be a place to go, and you'd have all these,
Yep.
choices of food.
Right, that was
And-
something that was actually something Deb West and I were looking at. The issue with the food truck regulations. Deb West and I were looking at the sports park to do a food truck area. The issue is that by county code standards for food trucks, and it's something that food trucks have run into in towns all over the place, you need plumbing, you need electricity, you need a place for hand washing, you need a place for porta potties to go. So looking at a place, we'd have to be able to run electricity there because a lot of their trucks run off of electricity. You would need plumbing to run to there. And you would need the hand washing and the porta potties.
If we did it in the sports park, the bathrooms would take care of
Right,
that.
but
We still
looking-
need electricity.
Look, the electricity is the biggest area, or biggest issue. The other thing is taking up parking in a parking lot or doing a cement slab on the side that would be specifically dedicated for that. That's something I'm all for. There's just a lot more planning involved than just designating an area as this is for food trucks.
Yeah.
I'm all, hey, if you wanna work on that project,
Sure,
I'm all
that's a
for
great
it.
idea.
Here, we'll just,
Yeah.
we spent a good 15 minutes on that topic, so let's, Jessica, do you feel like you have all the brainstorms from everybody?
Yep.
All right, let's go for it all. And we can probably prioritize it, and then we'll see where the chips fall. That sound reasonable? Okay, application period for November elections, 12.3.
Yeah, so, we just swore in the counselors tonight, but we're already preparing for the next election.
Yes.
Um,
That starts this week, right?
yes. Yeah, basically, we're gonna have 3 council seats up for election in November and the mayor. And, you have until August 25th to come pick up a packet.
To
So-
pick up a packet or to submit?
To come pick up a packet from me. I'm gonna give you your signature pages. You have to be certified by the recorder.
And what's that date? August 20th?
August 25th is the last day. So the, August 25th is the last day that you should have already come to me and gotten your signature pages and be turning them into me,
Okay, that was.
So August 25th is the deadline to submit them?
to submit them to me so that I can take them to the
Okay, so
county.
that's the
Yep.
city's November election deadline is August 25th.
Yes.
Okay.
And when
And then
can
when
we
does
pick
it
them
begin?
up?
Well, technically today, but
Oh.
you know, I was looking at these dates and I was thinking, I have to do some research on this, because for this last election, didn't I have to have the council approve to put the seats on the ballot, or do I not have to do that because it's, just because it
Well, I
was
think-
special, because it was appointment that I had to do that? Okay, so then, yeah, you can pick them up.
Yeah,
So who else is mine and Bill's and who else yours?
And the mayoral seat.
So even,
And-
yeah, and mine, and so we have such good momentum, and I'm not gonna run for mayor again, but I'll be available if anybody needs me for anything. And, but it'd be great if we can each grab 1 or 2 people from the community and encourage them to run. And so, I think Ron, you had mentioned you wanted to run for mayor, I don't know if Janet wants to, you have the opportunity to change. I don't know if anybody else wants to run for mayor, but we probably need 2 or 3 good candidates. And we probably need 4 or 5 good candidates for the council too.
Meetings of counselors.
And so, are you guys gonna run again? Bill?
No,
So you
not
just-
even thinking about it anymore, I'm walking out right now.
So good, you're gonna run again? Leah, you're gonna run again? And Janet, are you gonna run again?
I don't know yet.
Okay, so still, we should probably find 2 or 3 folks to run for council and give Ron a good run for his money, and then everybody has a good choice, we have some good conversations, and I'd like to host, kind of a ceremony, some sort of debate, help everybody kind of get to know each other a little bit. Does that seem reasonable, like,
Yeah,
sometime
like
in
a
October?
town hall kind of thing?
Yeah,
Cool.
and then we can kind of pass, change of the guard, get everybody talking about the issues as we go into next year, and help everybody make good decisions. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think it would be great. City manager report.
You know, I had a list of things, but we've gotten
We
into such
covered-
great discussions, we've hit most of them. The only thing we didn't hit is one you already all know, but I just want to say on the record, we are now www.cityofgoldhill.com.
That's great.
Nice.
So, it is official. Your old stuff will all still work. If anybody knows the old email address or the old website, it will still take you to the same place, but I encourage you to start using cityofgoldhill.com.
That is great. And, let's see, USDA call.
Oh, yeah, if you guys want to know more about that. So basically, I had a call with the USDA and Civil West to talk about some of, when we had the one-stop meeting, they said, all of this funding is based on your initial, your PER, preliminary engineering report, and the environmental review. And the USDA had begun reviewing our wastewater master plan, and they said so far they're almost done with it. It meets the PER requirements, so that one is good to go. The
Wow,
master
that's
plan
good.
meets that. The environmental review is gonna be a little bit different because that's gonna depend on which route we go. And again, we were only talking about the possibilities of either retrofitting our old plant, building a new plant, or a pipeline. If we decide to go with retrofitting the old plant or building a new plant, that's gonna require an environmental review by the National Marine Fisheries. And they take at least 8 months to do that, so that's gonna hold up any grant money at all. That all has to happen first before the USDA will sign off on it. The other thing is if we do the pipeline, that one is gonna require a Section 106 review. And we keep talking about how it's only 7.5 miles from here to the Medford plant. However, it's all tribal land. So it's gonna be it's a very fertile archaeological area, and we could run into all kinds of problems. And so that review has to be conducted first before they would sign off on the pipeline. Yes,
Who does the section 106?
this is the USDA.
USDA does that?
Yeah.
And in exchange, they have
Do we
nice
do we
grant
have a map
programs.
of where that pipeline's gonna go that I could see? I didn't know there was any tribal land around here.
Yeah, apparently this whole area is within the
I thought it
tribal
was on the other
authority.
side of the river though,
Yeah.
going towards the water.
I had no idea there was
Well-
tribal land.
Yeah.
Okay, any other updates on that?
No, I think that was all the big highlights from that
Okay,
meeting.
any council comments that we haven't covered?
Please check on your elderly neighbors. Most of them are still in quarantine. If they need help, please check on them so that they can better stay in quarantine for their safety.
For what was that?
A lot of
Safety.
elderly people are
Oh.
still in quarantine, and we need to remember that while we go back into the economy, they are still locked in tight, and we need to be checking on them.
All right, thank you. All right, good talk, everybody. Oh.
A couple of things. So the PPE, again, Jackson County Public Health generously donated 100 masks to us. Appreciate that. If we want more for use around for businesses in town, we can go back to the well. I think that's reasonable. They were very supportive of that. Number two, we've talked about town halls, and I think, again, this wastewater thing is gonna tie up our credit card for 25 to 30 years. When are we thinking about doing a town hall to address the big picture and get input from them?
Now with the election, so everybody's on the same page with the
We
election.
also have to wait till we can have that many people in the legislature.
Well,
But it seems like October is such a critical time.
I don't
You know,
think the lockdown is gonna continue into October simply because NCAA is moving ahead, which has pushed the governor to reassess and readjust her timeline. So, University of Oregon generates $70 million for the state of Oregon. They cannot not have that happen. So, they are right now talking about opening up, bringing back students in September, starting football either in
Yeah.
September or October.
I can't go without college football.
No, I mean, it's it's a state resource, it's our
But it,
professional.
but it
So-
seems, but
so
it seems
again,
like
it-
October is a good time, the kids are back in school, it's before the holidays. and
I
it's
think
before
we've
the
got,
election.
right now, in Jackson County, we've had, I think, 49 cases, maybe it's up to 51.
We're at 67. 67. We're
Okay,
at
so
67. We had a big spike over Memorial Day weekend.
Over Memorial, okay,
Yeah.
so I didn't get that.
Something I was thinking about that might accommodate some of the bigger town halls that we're wanting to do a little bit sooner. We do have a sports park. We, I believe, have a PA system. I don't see why some of these bigger events that maybe need to be handled a little sooner, looking into maybe how we might accommodate them in open air areas where
Yeah.
social distancing could be a thing. People could still have their public input. And we can have a lot more people who want to be involved. Maybe that might be something that we look at for public hearings that need to happen
Yeah.
sooner than phase 3.
We could use some of that money and invest in hula hoops. Everybody get a hula hoop. Nobody gets closer to the hula hoops.
So, I think that's a great idea. But again, remember, sunlight kills the virus. So the last thing we wanna do is get people inside breathing the same air. Outside is super healthy.
It is true.
Beach park.
Then what's
So I
going on in
Beach
Brazil?
park, beach park.
Hard to say.
Humidity.
So I think the beach part is a great idea. We've talked about town halls. I think we need one on the wastewater, and also we need one on the Olympic whitewater, which we got a lot of pushback last meeting.
And we agreed to have that 30 days after phase 3.
Mhm.
So I think that Assuming that the time frame is gonna be pushed up, which everything I'm reading, and I read the paper.
We'll find out on this Friday if we're going into phase 2, so that's one step closer.
So, September, August and September, so now is June, July, August. August is 2 months away. If we got cleared up for August, can we have a town call meeting August?
We can have meetings whenever we're finally clear, of course.
Yeah, so instead of pushing this back, if it's gonna happen in August and September.
Yeah, I think it's good to have when the kids are back in school, then they're focused and they're not on vacation and all that, so that's why I
So
would come
that's
back to
September.
October. October is that sweet spot in the year that nothing's going on, but everybody's kind of locked into their schedules. But, let's figure it out, could have 2.
I think also that it might be an opportunity for people to kind of get out and stretch their legs a little bit, especially if we're there saying, hey, you know, we're social distancing, come interact. It might bring people back to a little bit of normalcy.
Okay, so we'll brainstorm, what'd you say, August sometime?
Sooner rather than later, I would like one in August and one in September.
In September, we have the Ride the Road program coming through town.
One day.
Doesn't have anything to do.
That's Saturday, right? That's a Saturday?
It's volunteer time, it's kind of a.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm thinking a Thursday night for 2 hours, or a Tuesday night for 2 hours, kind of when we have things in the library. Instead of the library, let's have outdoor, which reduces the viral risk. Assuming things open up sooner, I think in the heat kills the virus, so I think it's reasonable
The
to.
Gold Hill Beach Party with.
Now we need,
Or
now we're
sport
talking,
park.
let's
Sport
get
park.
I
that
would think
theater going.
the sports park is more accessible to the elderly and the disabled. Getting down to the beach park is very steep.
Okay,
Yes.
that's a great idea. So maybe if the deadline, we could combine 2 ideas. If we do it early August, then there's still time for people to get signatures to run, and we could use that as kind of a rally to get people out of their comfort zone and run for an office. What do you think of that?
I
That's
think
pretty
the
late,
candidates
'cause
forum.
you gotta have your stuff in by the 25th.
Yeah.
Yeah, it only takes a few days to get all the signatures.
Sure.
But if the deadline is the end of August, so September would be the earliest, September, October, I think we definitely should have a candidates forum. I think that, just as you described, you know,
So
a
what
chance
if
for
we-
people to tell what they're gonna want, you know, give us their ideas of what they would do if they were in there.
So are you okay with the idea of?
See, I think
like
that can come-
early August?
I think a
We could do
candidates
a rally
forum,
early August, like the 5th or 10th?
I think a candidates forum is appropriate closer to November.
Well, but to get people to run for something, and then whoever's on the ballot, we have an October debate.
Yeah.
And so we could probably look at both of those topics in a little bit. Okay, so we got a brainstorm for something in August and something in October. And we're gonna use it to unite the town. Sound good? All right, any other thoughts before we wrap up? All right, good talk, everybody. We're gonna go ahead and adjourn the Gold Hill City Council meeting for June 1st at 7:40. Thank you.